Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 27th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Jenny. How you doing, Jenny?
I'm great, Taran. It's an absolute honor to be able to recap day 69. Uh, and I'm just going to give you a fair warning. If I'm looking at the computer screen and a clown face pops up, I might pull an Anthony or a Nicole Anthony, and completely rage quit this podcast. So, fair warning.
There's nothing that's going to end up popping into the screen at any time. Don't worry about it. There's nothing scary that's going to happen in the video at all.
Like if the feed freezes and then all of a sudden I come back and you're not there, I'm literally going to lose my mind.
All right. Well, we're here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 21 live feeds. It was day 69 in the house.
Nice.
And it's not a lot of movement game wise, but it was honestly a fun night of feeds. And we'll get to it. We'll talk about it. So Holly is the HOH. Jackson has the veto. Nick and Christie on the block. Nick did try to pitch to Jackson and Holly one last time before the veto ceremony to get them to use the veto on Christie, him, anybody. Just use the veto. But they are not going to bite, and Jackson is not going to use the veto, which means one of Nick or Christie will be evicted this week, as long as the eviction actually takes place and is not just a prank.
Yeah, I mean, we still are in the dark about what's going to happen with this actual eviction on Thursday. I heard you guys speculating more about it last night on the roundtable, and I mean, I know that Brent is really holding on to this whole thing that, Julie wouldn't lie to us, but a prank is a prank, and they are totally within their right to prank the viewers. It's not like they have a contract to tell us exactly what's going to be happening. We don't know about twists until they're explained to us. So I'm saying I don't believe that it's going to be absolutely one way or the other, but I'm just saying I definitely think that there is a chance that something happens with this eviction, and maybe there isn't one or something. I think that there could be more to prank week than just what we saw from Nick and clowns popping up and pies. I don't believe that that's quite enough for it to be a full prank week. So we'll see.
Yeah, Rob in the chat says that it's not a lie for Julie, saying that somebody will be heading to jury if they didn't tell Julie that it was a lie.
Exactly.
And she was telling
That's
the truth.
Loophole.
She just didn't know that it was not true.
Maybe Julie's being pranked. We're all being pranked.
Julie's gonna be like waiting for the person to come out, and then look, nobody comes up. Guys, I have no programming in my ear. There's nobody. Nobody's walking out of the door. What's happening? What's happening? And then a clown walks out.
Oh my God, no. I'm not even afraid of clowns, but I am now.
All right. Well,
that would be a great prank.
Yes. After the veto ceremony, Jackson and Tommy had a conversation outside. Tommy's feeling just pretty shaken up about the game in general, or at least that's what he is trying to appear as, that he's very much just like, basically like, what have I done with my life? Like, what have I done with my game?
Yeah, and he's got allies.
My allies are on the block. It's everybody's going home. I was in such a good spot before. Now look at me.
But look at it, like, since we got to jury, aside from Kat going out, like, he's losing his allies, and two of the people that he's closest to are now on the block, and, the veto isn't used, and one of them is going home. There's no great outcome for him this week. So, yeah, he went from being really, really well positioned. I still think that he could stay well positioned depending on what people take out of some of the conversations that happened this week. People might be getting on to him, but maybe not. And so I think Tommy has a lot of reason to be a little shaken up. So that's understandable behavior coming from him. With Nick and Christie being the ones that are going to go this week. So. Or one of them, obviously not both. Well, never know. It could be a prank. You're both going.
Yes, well, Tommy and Jackson do agree that they are not going after each other next week. Tommy's lying.
Sure.
And they
Sure,
also
Dan.
they also agree. What was Nick thinking? Why didn't he just talk to Holly before the nominations? That would have been much better for him.
Yeah. So is everyone else saying that. It's a very commonly held belief. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, when Nick speaks to Jackson before the veto ceremony, he's like, it's just that, it's a little too late. It's a couple maybe a couple people ago, but like it's also too late in the fact that like, having the conversation about the power before the veto even happened, it would have been the better move. So it's multiple layers of too late.
Yeah. So Nick and Nicole are going to talk. Nick is pretty mad at Tommy for having previously promised him that if you're ever on the block next to Christie, I will choose you, Nick. That's one of the reasons why he felt comfortable putting Christie on the block. And now Tommy has gone and made a promise to Christie that he'll vote to keep her. What kind of a man does that? That's not loyalty right there. He doesn't even want to give Tommy a hug on his way out the door, or Cliff.
Or Cliff. Yeah.
Or Cliff, because he's also not voting for him, and that is just dumb.
Yeah, he's really not feeling he's pissed off about Cliff and Tommy both not going to keep him, and he's not going to hug them, and if he does stay in the game, then his loyalty is to Nicole and Jackson and Holly, which I think is interesting because like if he does stay in the game, then I have to think that Tommy and or Cliff were somehow in on it, but it's too late, I guess. And the fact that they at this point in the week are not keeping him, that that he's not going to protect them any further after this. And Nicole is like, you should be telling Jackson and Ollie this.
Yeah. It's go tell them that you're going to be loyal to them, because that's what they need to hear. Nick is saying too, like, keeping Christie is dumb. She's gonna win sitting next to anybody in the final two. People have to see that, and so that's going to be that's a thought out there in the house as well,
which I don't think is wrong. Like I think that after what has happened in the last 2 weeks, and there's really no reason that Christie should be lasting this week. Like they are making a mistake letting her slide by another week that she started off on the block. And so, this is a decent pitch for Nick or anyone who wants to keep Nick, to try to put out there being like, okay, leaving Christie in here is concerning. But I mean, it's pretty incredible. And I do think that if she manages to get to the end of the game, she is going to be whoever she's next to. But I think that everyone's just banking on the fact that they can get rid of her next week and that she doesn't have a foothold. But
yeah. So Nicole does go to Jackson and Holly, and she wants to pitch to them I feel like keeping Nick might be a good idea. I think that Christie is really dangerous. She's really good at the game. I feel like maybe it's worth considering. But Holly does not love that Nick has been pushing to get the veto used on Christie. She's like, that's weird. It's weird. Why does he want the veto used on Christie? There's layers to that relationship that I do not like, and this is of course Tommy's fault. And this was a terrible pitch from Nick to use the veto on Christie anyway.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And it's definitely one of the things holding them back in terms of like, okay, but he's super sketchy, wanting us to use the veto on Christie. Nicole says that you need to be worried about Tommy. I don't know if you realize this, but Tommy has mentioned, he's made some comments about, people being in power for a while and needing to take shots at those people. And so, look, if Christie is here, she is working with Tommy and she's not putting Jess on the block. But if Nick is here, Nick would put Jess on the block, and he's pretty mad at Tommy right now. They got into a fight. So I'm just saying.
Well, and the thing is that like, Nicole, this is immediately after Nicole's like, you need to talk to Jackson and Holly and tell them this. But then she immediately is like, okay, well, I'm going to go do some work for Nick. Um, and like, Holly says that no matter what, whoever stays between Christie and Nick is going to work with Tommy. And it actually does take Nicole like a few seconds to get to this point where she's like, I've kind of heard, like people, put out that you guys might be in trouble. And, Holly's like, oh, Christy? No. Oh, Jess? No. And then like you can just see how nervous Nicole is because she like everyone is just so nervous to like put especially Tommy out there, which says something about his game. And finally it's just like, oh, Tommy. And like she's nervous about it, but this is I feel like this is one of the biggest pieces of information that Nicole is actually finally giving to Holly and Jackson. But it seems like Holly immediately is just kind of like, yeah, well, I mean, even if all three of them have a weird relationship and it doesn't really matter because if Christy goes, Nick's going to work with Tommy anyway. So, it's more important to get out who the target was in the first place. And Christy's just going to go next week anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot of like we can't keep Christy and then keep Nick in back-to-back weeks. That doesn't work. It would look terrible. We can't keep our targets 2 weeks in a row. We already did that. It's already that card has been played. It can't be played again.
And it's also just the concern that it's like they'll make a deal with absolutely anyone. And so how are you, if they're making deals with people that they've targeted, how are you supposed to feel safe with those, those kinds of players? So obviously it's understandable why, Jackson and Holly don't want to back down on this plan, but they really do need to be, more concerned about Tommy. And it is, Holly acknowledges later in this conversation that, it's only Monday and Nicole is already kind of, putting in her pitch for Nick. So if Nick actually starts fighting for himself here and maybe also, selling out Tommy a little bit, that could be a game changer for him. It is still early. It can't be Nicole doing it because they all acknowledge that Nick staying is better for Nicole's game. So it needs to be more about the threat to Holly and Jackson of Tommy staying with Christie in his pocket. So I don't know. Nick needs to do some work here because he does not speak to them at all for the rest of the day about game.
Yes. So after Nicole leaves, they do Jackson and Holly talk about this. They think that Nick still has to go. This did not work on them. But they are a little bit concerned about what Nicole had to say about Tommy, that they have felt very good with Tommy in the past, but maybe they're not as good with Tommy as they thought. No, they probably are. It's probably, he was probably just saying those things to Nicole. He's probably still good with us, right? Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Definitely just trying to like play off to Nicole that they really have a Final Four with us. That's probably what it is. You are just definitely trying to make yourself feel better about something because, the fears are creeping in.
Yes, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Jackson's still planning on throwing the F out of the next HOH competition at the moment.
Yeah, he was saying, because they were discussing about, well, Jess is not going to put up Christie, and what if Jess wins this next HOH? And they're saying she's probably going to put up Tommy and Cliff because she's going to put up guys probably. And that at that point we get out Tommy, so no big deal. And actually, it would almost be great if Jess wins the next HOH because we get out Tommy, and then all four of them are eligible to play in the next HOH. But and again, this is something you guys are all talking about last night, is like, who really knows what Jess is going to do? Like, for all we know, she ends up, being the unexpected big move maker again and, splits up Jackson and Holly. Who knows? Or Tommy and Christie. Who knows? But Jackson feels good about a throw, especially if a Jess wins, because he feels, insulated in that situation.
Well, I think he's concerned about Jess, but apart from Jess, he feels like Christie is going to throw the HOH, and he hasn't been concerned about Tommy in the past, and he obviously feels good with Cliff and Nicole. So as long as Jess doesn't win, he feels like he's okay.
And even if Jess wins, like they kind of like talked themselves into feeling it's not the end of the world, where Nicole was kind of trying to use that as the piece of like, well, what if Jess wins? Like, Christie's around, she's definitely not going up, and like, how many people are left if she's not putting up girls? But I think that is them just trying to make themselves feel better about something, because they want to make the decision they've decided on. So they're going to like twist things to just reinforce that as a great idea. So
Tommy and Christie talk a bit. And they're talking about how big moves have to be made from this point.
And who's going to make those big moves?
Who's going to make those big moves? Christie says she has no problem being the one to do it, that she will absolutely win HOH and make the big move. The big move meaning, look, I am no longer subject to any deal that I have made in the past.
Contract's over.
Those terms are up. I'm a free agent. I am ready to go.
Which is exciting for me to see, because I love to see another all out war. I love this idea of the Holly and Jackson against Tommy Christie thing becoming an actual thing here. But yeah, this just goes to show that Jackson and Holly are convincing themselves into some safety that they really don't have, because they are assuming that Christie feels like she can throw it, and that unless for some reason she's not being truthful with Tommy, which really makes no sense, she very much is feeling ready to be the person that makes that big swing.
Yes. She also talks about feeling good with Cliff, that Cliff is not on her radar. And this is when Tommy talks about how he's more emotionless in this game than he lets on, which I thought was an interesting comment to make.
I know. That was a really weird moment. And she was just like, emotionless, like, to clarify. And then he's like, yeah. And then she's like, oh yeah, I know. And it was like,
he was like, I'm sure you know me. And she was like, okay, yeah, I guess so.
It almost felt like he was like making some sort of like callback to like something like in like that she should I don't know. It was a really weird moment where I felt like he was like hinting at something that is like an inside joke between the two, not an inside joke, but like some sort of reference. But it was a weird moment. And it's just, I felt like it was a weird thing to say. Like, I mean, I know that like they are working together, but I don't think it's ever a great, thing to be dropping, that you're emotionless in the game when you have a deep personal emotional relationship that you brought into the house with this person, and you're telling them like, I'm actually playing pretty emotionless. Like, wouldn't your gears start going, being like, oh, well, I thought you were pretty emotionally attached to me. And if you're playing emotionless, then maybe that attachment isn't going to be so strong. So.
Well, look, we all saw the Baywatch incident.
Yeah. Never forget.
That was just cold-blooded. So
yeah.
Then we get clowns.
They are really creepy too. Okay, like, oh my God, Taran.
Watch out for the clowns.
Oh God, this is...
Where are they? You don't know where they are.
I did not sign up for this.
They might come from anywhere.
Someone help me. I actually was like, you are in my... This is embarrassing. This is actually embarrassing, because like in my view, you went off to like the right side of the screen, and I pictured you just coming back in that same spot. And when you popped up from the bottom, that actually like started me. Okay. Seriously embarrassing.
This is a perfect preview for what happened to Nicole.
I'm traumatized. This is me like being gotten back for like all the times that I've said inappropriate things that have made you uncomfortable on this podcast. So I deserve it, I guess.
Yeah. So as has happened in the past on Big Brother, they are using the mirrors to great effect, and they have either hired or just put themselves in very scary clown costumes, and they are just going to start appearing in the mirrors, doing various creepy things. So that's they I believe it started in the bathroom. That's always the
But it was in the kitchen. I think it was in the kitchen.
It was the
and,
kitchen?
Like, yeah, like Cliff was like washing a dish, and then like he like dropped it, and like everyone started screaming. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then there was the one in the bathroom when everyone went flying backwards. Did you see that? That was insane. It was it's a scary, it's like, I'm not like someone that's afraid of clowns, like a children's like birthday party clown or anything. Like this is like a Pennywise, like it's a very terrifying, evil looking clown face.
Well, remember, it was just a few days ago that I was talking about how Jackson got freaked out when he saw a production member in the mirror, because he was, oh, people are living in our walls. It's so weird. Just somebody's standing right there. But it's that same thing, only it's very creepy clown staring at you, doing something creepy. And so they all have a bit of a freak out. But Nicole is the person that's the most scared.
Of course, because she's a sweet angel and. Of course, Nicole's going to be the one that is afraid of this.
And so Cliff has an idea that Cliff is again such a dad that he really wants to prank Nicole here. He wants to get everyone to hide. He was initially thinking, which I actually liked even better than what they ended up doing, but what they did was great too. Thinking of like leading Nicole around and then having people hide one by one, just like people start disappearing throughout the house, and then until everybody is hidden and she's just alone in the house. That was a good idea, but ultimately what they ended up doing was Nicole went to the diary room and they just all hid.
I thought Cliff went into the diary room first and then told production that they were going to do that, because he came out and said something about like, oh, I can't talk about my diary room sessions. And then shortly after, Nicole got called into the diary room. So I feel like Cliff got production in on it.
I think that they were sort of, I think that what Cliff was saying was that maybe like, oh, watch out if you go into the diary room, there might be a clown there. Because he said that and Tommy was like, I know what you're saying, Cliff. That's not nice. And then they called Nicole in and she was terrified to go in there. And she was like, Holly was like, do you want me to come with you? And so they did. And they were like kicking the door open like,
to see who's in there.
There's no clowns in there, right? So Nicole goes in and she's in the diary room. And everybody goes and they hide up in the HOH room. Jackson stays downstairs. He hides behind the couch in the bathroom. And Nicole comes out and just immediately there's a clown on the living room mirror, just like doing like a bird like flapping with his hands.
They're so poor Nicole, like.
And she's terrified. Oh, what? No! No! Where is everyone? Guys!
She's like, no. Well, I guess I won Big Brother. I'm the only one left.
That's later. She goes into the kitchen and she's like just like trying to not look at any mirrors, and she like backs herself up into the corner of the kitchen. She's just like, I'm just gonna stay here. I'm just not gonna move. It's Nicole Anthony is stubborn, and I will not move. Where are you guys? This is mean. She's terrified. She doesn't want to like have to go search for people because she doesn't want them to jump out at her, and she doesn't want to have to keep looking at different mirrors and then get freaked out by a clown. And so she's this is how I die. I have to make peace with my God because this is how I die. She's just like huddling in the corner. You know what this smells like? It smells like BS.
Bullshit.
Where is everyone? Okay. I guess it's just me in the house. I guess I win the game. Woo! Yeah.
Oh, I found a diamond power of Veto. Does anyone want to come see it?
Oh, look at this diamond power of Veto. Oh, look, oh man, oh, it's right here. Does anyone want to come and see?
And not jump out at me.
She's like, fine, I guess I have to go look. So she finally starts to leave the corner of the kitchen, and as soon as she starts walking to the stairs, they cut the lights in the kitchen on her. She just, oh fuck no.
Taran, I legit thought you were going to drop the F-bomb there.
It was great.
That would be legitimately terrifying. Like, I feel like it was so funny to watch, but I felt so bad.
She's like, look at my hands. Look at, I'm trembling. She finally starts to search for people. She goes into the bathroom. She doesn't see Jackson the first time, and he like kicks the dresser to make it like bang, and she goes, she runs back to the kitchen, and then she goes and she searches into the bedrooms, and she is legitimately like in a fighting stance, like kicking the doors open, like I'm ready to fight, and then she goes back and she finds Jackson, and she's like, Jack, what are you doing there? And he just gets up, just calmly, just starts rolling out the dust that had gotten on him. And they just told us to hide. It's like, what do you mean? Oh. What is happening?
My lights are flickering. I am freaking out. Did you see that?
Yeah. Wait, what are you talking about?
Shut up, Aaron. That just happened. I live alone. This is not a bit. I swear to God, my lights just flickered.
I mean, I'm not sure that I saw anything, but yes, Jackson.
That helped me out. Oh my God, that is so weird.
Jackson's like, well, they just told us to hide. I don't know. They just said, go hide. She's like, what? He's just acting super, super calm, and she's like, ah. She has to go, and she finally goes upstairs, and you know, opens the HOH room door, and it's dark inside because they turn the lights off. She's like, no, it's dark in there. No,
not going
in. So she goes in, she turns on the lights, and she's like, oh, I see feet. I see feet. And so she finally finds them, and they all hug her. But meanwhile, Jackson has been making a pie and goes and hides where Nicole got him the 2 nights before, up on the sort of balcony hallway, and he looks like a slasher, like serial killer, like because she's just standing there in the hallway, and he just kind of like peeks his head from the corner, and he's just like,
Taran's off screen again. Oh God.
And she's like, no, and he's just like, and chases her into the hallway to the have-not room, and she smashes the pie out of his hand.
The pie like goes into
one of the mirrors.
Window or the mirror. Yeah.
It was great.
Nicole had a rough night.
Yeah, and so then she goes back into the HOH room, and they're hanging out, and Nick is, of course, the guy that, like, he got scared at first, but now he's like got to prove how macho he is, and so every time a clown comes, he's like, oh, hi, and he goes right up to the window like, oh, hi, I'm not scared of you. And then and like even worse, he tries to scare the clown. He's like, I see you, effer, I see you, mother. He's like trying to scare them, like no, I'm the big man on campus. I'm the scarer here. And so he's just like, I see you. I can still see you, effer. What are you doing with your? Oh, he's pointing at Nicole, and she's like, no. She runs.
They continue to point at her for like a couple more times. Like she'll like be at a mirror, and it's like it's pointing at Nicole.
She goes into the RV, and Cliff is now like, I'll stay with you. I'll make sure you're okay. Like again, being the dad.
Yeah.
And so she's just like in the RV, just like, I don't know how I'm gonna sleep. And then you can hear when the clowns are like getting into position. She's like, no, no. And Cliff is like, you have to act not scared. You have to be strong. And she's like, because she's so annoyed. She's like, I don't want to be portrayed as a scary cat. I'm a tough woman. I'm so embarrassed. And so she's just like, look, clowns, just go scare someone else. I gave you what you wanted. I was nice and scared, and I jumped, and like now you can go to do it for other people. It's oh my God. Clown comes in and goes,
like, that is legit terrifying. I'm sorry. Like, she is giving them so much material, and so like it's exactly the reaction they want. So it's like, no, Nicole, they're not going to target anyone else because they know that they're going to get the reaction out of you that they want every single time, regardless. Like, there's no way that you can shift the attention at this point. You are the star of, Wednesday's episode when we get the clown segment, and you just have to accept your fate here.
Yeah, it was really fun. It kept me up last night.
It went on
I
for a
was
while.
laughing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And honestly, this is what makes the show fun. This is a twist. This is great. This was entertaining. This was entertaining for hours last night. They don't need to screw up the game in bad ways that ends up backfiring. They just need to do fun things in the house like this. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed, the whole thing. I really recommend you just watch it because it was really fun. Between this and the pies and the pie wars, it's been really fun in the house in the last week.
Yeah, if there's gonna be, and I also feel like the Monday night is like a good time for that sort of stuff because, at least I've found that it can be sometimes one of the quieter nights, and if there's gonna be some downtime where there's not as much game talk, where it's things might ramp up a little bit closer to the vote. Use that as time to do some of the the hijinks and stuff like that, because if they're just going to be sitting around waiting to go to bed, make it fun like this. This is way more fun to watch than them just sitting around and having the same conversations over and over again. But I got scared the first time because I got scared by the screaming, because it was out of nowhere. Everyone just started screaming. So it was a full viewer experience because they were scared and then I was startled, and then, you never know where the camera's going to pan into, because it's kind of hard to see the clown the same way that they are seeing it in there, because depending on the camera angle. Anyway, it was incredibly entertaining, but I also enjoyed Jess being badass, being she kept on being in Chicago, clowns get shot. She was just so sassy. I don't know. Yeah. It was entertaining to me. I just had this image of Jess going rogue and shooting a clown.
That was another thing Nicole said. She was like, I want to get a weapon, but I don't want to hurt anyone.
That is the most Nicole thing ever. She's scrappy, but she's ultimately just the kindest human ever. So
yeah. So Holly and Jackson end up talking a little bit while some of this stuff is happening. Not a whole lot of game talk left in the night. They are starting to feel more sketched out about Tommy. That now, ever since Nicole told them that, they've been kind of paying attention to their interactions with Tommy, and they're kind of maybe starting to see that it is a little weird. But maybe they're just imagining it because of what Nicole said. They can't be sure. Maybe it's not real.
But then Jackson even is just yeah, it might just be because, you just had that conversation with Nicole. Mm-hmm. But I've actually noticed it too. So it's they're doing that same thing where it's like, no, it's probably okay. It might just be Nicole, like what Nicole said, like making us see it that way. But also, it does seem kind of weird. So it's like there's definitely something bubbling there.
Yeah, and like this idea that Nicole made some good points, but this idea that that Nick and Tommy are now in a fight, but they were just playing backgammon all night. It was like, what's with that? And so they think good points, but Nick still has to go. Christie can go next week. Or maybe Tommy first. Yeah, who knows? Maybe Tommy target before. Who knows?
And that's what I'm like. That's why I think that Nick needs, if he has a shot to stay this week, he needs to find a way to sell out Tommy and separate himself from Tommy, because they are seeing the fact that like Tommy, and it's true. Tommy said this to Nicole. He's pissed off at Tommy, but then he's like, cuddling in the hammock with him, hanging out with him, like, still cuddling in bed together at night, playing backgammon and stuff. And like people see this, and like, it's important to note that Tommy is saving Christie, but he's also around Nick all the time. And like that doesn't help Nick's case to stay. Nick needs to somehow, alarm Jackson and Holly more about the possibility of Christie staying, and how that makes Tommy more powerful, and that he is going to be after them. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, because I haven't, had a ton of trust in his game moves in the last week, especially. But I really think that is the only way that he sticks around here. And the more he like hangs around with Tommy, they're just going to tell themselves that they're making the right move, and that if he were to stay, he's just going to work with Tommy anyway. So it might as well get out their intended target in Nick and not do what they did last week.
Yeah, there's a reason why Taco Tuesday was effective, because it proved to the house that Christie and Nick would not work together. If you're gonna pitch that you're out on your own and you need to deal with people who are in power that can keep you, you can't be chummy with the people that you're supposed to be targeting.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're going to get the return of Taco Tuesday, and like Taco Tuesday 2 extra guaco braco or something like that, where we get, now it's going to be a Tommy exposed party or something. That would be fun, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
It would be fun.
We can only hope. We can only hope.
All right. Anything else you wanted to bring up before we wrap this one up?
No, just that it's raining here today, so I think that's why the lights are flickering. But like, legitimately, probably one of the more weird things to ever happen on a podcast that I've been on. So, thanks for elevating my heart rate for the day. I feel like I just ran like a mile or something.
I love
like
that
still haven't calmed down.
It's so good.
That is seriously, I live alone. No one is turning on and off the lights. That was really weird.
And also, while we were talking about that exact thing and not any other time.
That's what I'm saying. That is the weirdest thing. I manifested it.
Truly. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 21 live feeds, if there is a Taco Tuesday part 2. And then, of course, tomorrow night, we will be back to recap the Wednesday night episode of Big Brother 21, and Thursday, the same thing as well. Make sure you tune into American Ninja Warrior. We've got the finals here. You don't have to have watched any of the previous episodes. Last night started the finals of American Ninja Warrior. Then check out the podcast that I do with Lita. It's very fun. I recommend it. So check that out. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. You can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. Jenny, where can people find you?
On Twitter, Instagram, and things at Jenny Autumn.
All right. So thank you once more for joining us today. I'll see you next time. Don't be scared.
Oh my God.